Maine Senate shocker. Democrats pick challenger, but new controversy brews. Maine Democrats have quickly chosen Troy Jackson as their Senate nominee, following the spectacular exit of former candidate Graham Platner. Jackson is now set to face off against longtime Republican Senator Susan Collins in a high-stakes showdown. Jackson, a former state Senate president, won a landslide victory at the Maine Democratic Party's nominating convention in Bangor. He was on a clear path to the nomination after securing the vast majority of voting delegates. His main rivals had dropped out in recent days, clearing the way for his overwhelming win against a single long-shot candidate. This Senate race in Maine is critical. Senator Collins is the only Republican incumbent seeking re-election in a state President Donald Trump lost in 2024. It's one of a dozen midterm battles across the country that will decide whether Republicans keep their slim majority or if Democrats regain control of the chamber. Addressing the convention, Jackson, a fifth-generation lawyer and a former conservative Republican who became a Democrat 2 decades ago, rallied supporters. "Are you ready to defeat Susan Collins? Well, then, let's unite this party. Let's build the largest working-class movement Maine has ever seen. And let's win this fight," he declared. However, despite quickly raising over $1 million for his campaign and uniting party support, some potential warning signs are emerging. Questions are being raised about Jackson's alleged temper and workplace conduct, reported claims of mortgage improprieties, and even his past strict anti-abortion stance. Following Platner's sudden departure, some within the party worry they've landed another unvetted nominee. One Democratic strategist, speaking anonymously, described it as a bit of a rocket vetting process. They added, "Maine Democrats have seemingly made their choice, and they are just going to have to ride with it." Another veteran Democratic consultant suggested that Democrats shouldn't look to Maine to flip the Senate, pointing to opportunities elsewhere. When asked about these vetting concerns, Jackson responded, "I think a lot of this obviously is Sen. Collins trying to make sure she can win the election on a really bad record. But for me, I've been in the legislature for 20 years. I do believe I've been vetted. I've been tested. People know exactly what I'm fighting for. I have their back, and they know they can trust me." Platner, a military combat veteran and oyster farmer, had quickly gained traction with support from progressive figures like Senator Bernie Sanders. However, his campaign unraveled after an explosive report containing an allegation of rape, which he denied but led to his withdrawal from the race earlier this month. Jackson, who campaigned alongside Platner during the primary, has positioned himself as the torchbearer for the progressive and populist movement that backed Platner. His platform includes raising taxes on billionaires, universal health care, abolishing ICE, and opposing military aid to Israel, stances that align him with working-class voters and a divided Democratic Party. Republicans, however, are seizing on the process. A spokesperson for the Republican National Committee called Jackson's nomination a coronation and accused Democrats of shoving socialism down the throats of Maine voters. Senator Collins' re-election campaign also criticized the process, describing Jackson as an auguster insider appointed to run for the Senate by fewer than 0.3% of its primary voters. Collins, running for her sixth six-year term, faces a challenging political climate for Republicans. While known as a moderate, she has faced criticism over her vote to confirm Justice Brett Kavanaugh and her support for ICE funding. Despite this, Collins has a history of overcoming strong Democratic challengers, famously defeating Sarah Gideon 6 years ago. The Senate showdown in Maine is expected to be fiercely competitive and expensive, with outside groups on both sides pouring money into ads. Current rankings suggest the race is a toss-up, and a recent poll indicates Jackson holds a slight 3-point edge over Collins, right at the margin of error.